You know, my grandma had this house. She still actually has it. And I haven't been there in a while. She doesn't live in it anymore. It's still on the property. But she has a trailer now that she lives on. She lives in the trailer. She doesn't really do anything with the house, but as far as I can remember, looking back on my life as a kid, uh, it was the house that I remember the most because whenever we go to Grandma's house, we go out to this house. It's a little green, really old house that I guess a long time ago used to be a one room schoolhouse. And it was converted into a home. And she bought it sometime before I was born. And it was really run down, very rural. That was the first time I ever knew or heard the words holler because we lived out in the holler, or she did. My parents, my dad was in the Navy, so I grew up on Navy bases for the first 12 years of my life, maybe. But whenever we go out and visit Grandma, we go out and visit her and go to this house. During the day, everything was completely fine. It was just this nice little country house set between these two hills. Heck, my uncles, I had two uncles who were very close in age to me and my older brother. So we kind of almost were like brothers with them in a way, too. And we'd explore the hills, we'd go around and see all sorts of things. My uncle Dale would always try to freak us all out when we would go hiking or playing up on the hills. He would tell us that there were battles with American Indians up in the hills, which is actually kind of funny because we are part American Indian. um, but he would tell us that the bodies, I think I may have actually said this in a story once, the bodies were under the leaves on the hills. And if you weren't careful, one of them would grab you. So that was maybe one of the only times during that time, or during the daytime, that I ever found that area scary. But when it was nighttime, it was totally different. And even my sister would probably attest to this because it got so dark. Now, today, they actually built a highway going through the area, so it's not as rural as it used to be. But back then, it got so dark at night, and there was this one light up on the hill, and you could see almost like a path coming down the hill. And often, because my dad knew that I would be scared and stuff like that, would send me out to the car really late at night. And I would be scared going out to the car. I was probably like, let's say like 9 years old, going out to the car and looking up on the hill and always expecting some scary thing to come running down the hill and get me. So I would go and get whatever he would want out of the car, and I would run so fast back to the house. But then, of course, being a kid and stuff, when I got to the house, I pretended that I wasn't scared at that point. So that was the first thing that was scary about that house. The second was all the boys slept upstairs. And it was, I don't know if you could call it an attic or an upstairs. It was sort of like a mix between the two. It wasn't an attic where you pull down the stairs and stuff. There were normal stairs going up there, very slim stairs. I've fallen on them a few times actually. But the thing about that, there were four beds up there, so all the boys would always be up there, and I think I've mentioned before, I've always had insomnia. It's not the kind of insomnia where you can't fall asleep. It's the insomnia that you can fall asleep, but you wake up like a lot. And when you wake up, it's very difficult to go back to sleep. So, and it's even harder for you to sleep in a bed that's not yours. I'm sure you know what that's like. And I would always wake up, and everybody else, my brother, my Uncle Lloyd, my Uncle Dale, they would all sleep like a rock. And I would always hear all three of them snoring. But I've never really been able to do that. And there was all sorts of stuff up in that attic. And I would wake up, and a kid, I can remember this back as early as 5 years old, and all the times within the next years that I went to visit, seeing things on the other side of the room. And I always thought I saw, there was, there was a bar there with a lot of clothes hung on it. And I always thought that I saw legs coming down from one of the jackets that was hanging on that bar, facing me. But they were only jackets, there were no pants or slacks or anything. But at nighttime, I always saw that. So it seemed to me like there was something strange or somebody standing there amongst the jackets, just standing there. And, as a kid, you get scared of things that are irrational. Um, so that would make it even harder for me to go back to sleep because I thought somebody was there. And, kids believe in ghosts. I don't know if I thought it was a ghost or just a person. But it was worse because everybody else was sleeping and I couldn't. So I was always really tired when I was there. And there was just a whole lot of things about that house that really kind of just got to me. And interestingly enough, I have told this story on my Patreon, and I think I've told this story to you on the channel as well. But that upstairs, that attic, is where I had my first grand mal seizure. Now, I was much older at that time and in college. We were on break, and I went with my family to visit, and I'd been upstairs pretty much all day because everybody else had gone out shopping. And I had gone down to talk to everybody when they got back, and remembered there was something that I wanted that was upstairs. So I went ahead, walked up the stairs, and that's the last thing I remember. The next thing I know, I'm laying in the bed, and there's all these people standing around me, and I don't know who they are or who I am or what's going on. And apparently they told me about the convulsions I was having. It was a grand mal seizure. Now, the reason I bring that up, even though I've told this story before, is I'm talking about that house. And it just seems really strange to me that I've never thought about it until this moment right now, that I had so many scary experiences in that attic upstairs. Seeing things, hearing things, all sorts of stuff like that. And it just seems really odd that my first grand mal seizure would be up there. Now, another thing could be that I do have partial seizures and hallucinations when that happens. So maybe as a kid I was having that. Maybe that's why I was seeing someone standing there. I don't know. But it just seems really odd to me that if that's the case, why is it always happening in that area? And I don't know. Even as an adult, they actually started calling it my room whenever I would come to visit because I was the only person as an adult who would sleep up there. And I liked that because, I had the space to myself. It was very nice. So I enjoyed that, but it was still creepy. It's always been creepy. Now, it's been about 13 years, I think, since my grandma had a trailer put on the property, and I haven't been to the house since then, but it's been empty for all that time. So I almost wonder if I went to visit and I went into that house, what it would be like now. I imagine it'd be a whole lot creepier. Now, I wanted to start off the stream telling that story. That's why I haven't responded to any of the comments yet. Is because I wanted to start out with the story, and I figured the story of Grandma's scary upstairs would be a good way to start that out with. But other than that, it seems like this is going well. So, first off, I want to apologize to everybody for what happened yesterday. Apparently, there has been some changes to the way that the streaming software that I've used is now working. And I went through some tutorials today. I figured it out, so it looks like it's going pretty good. And if there's any problems with how I sound, of course, you know I'm not listening to myself. I have the stream up, but it's muted. And but if there's any problems, let me know in the comments, and we can address those as we go. I also want to apologize to Mateo Surreal. I know I wanted to have you join me as a guest, but I'm not that far into having figured out how to do that yet. And once I do, we'll do another stream. I want to start doing the streams on Saturdays. I can't do it this Saturday. As you guys know, I'm a pro wrestling fan, and WrestleMania is this weekend. And I'm a supervisor or a moderator on a wrestling website, and I'll have to be there to moderate the chat room. So I can't do a stream this Saturday. I will probably try to do another one this week. Try to find some stories to tell on there. So now I want to say hi to everybody. First, I see Kimberly up there. Hi, Kimberly. Kristen, Richard, Jay, yay too. Evolution. What's good? What's good is that the stream is working. I'm surprised, and actually, I did this. You'd be shocked. I did this without my sister's help. I am, as most people know, quite a Luddite, so it's pretty surprising I was able to do it. Hey there, Stella. Hey there, Mateo. I hope you're doing good, Drew. Nick, what's up? Hey, I'm feeling pretty good. You know, I just played World of Warcraft with my mom and my sister. My sister went to bed after that, and that was pretty good. And now I have this working fine, so I'm feeling great. Hello there, Dara, and 345 Lakers for life. My night just got better. Well, thank you. I'm glad that I could help out with that. Arky, I'm finally here. What's up with cat lovers? None of my cats are in here at the moment, though, but I do love them. I have two stuffed cats, two black cats. One I named after my late cat Drew, but her name is Plush Drew. And then I have another one, Plush Drew too, but I call her Kitty most of the time. Freaky Frank, oh my god, still here after all these years, I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Even when I had my problems in February getting hacked, if I was unable to have got my channel back, I would have just started a new one. But I'm glad we didn't have to do that, and I'm not going anywhere. Even if my views go down, I'm gonna be here telling stories and telling original stories as much as possible. So I'm glad to see you here. Hey there, Jacob. I am doing okay, and thank you for the compliment. How you doing, Dara? Would you somebody tell me to go to the mall? Oh, yep. He would tell me to go to the mall in the dark, or get the mail in the dark. Maybe I need my reading glasses. But I was scared of the dark, and he wouldn't let me take a flashlight. Yeah, I don't know. My dad was kind of a cruel guy, so it's not. I don't know if your dad was cruel. Me and my dad, we didn't have a relationship. After the age of 15, we had no relationship. He died a few years ago, and it was really nothing to me, unfortunately. I mean, I wish that there could have been something, but there just wasn't. And Slumber Reads is here, or I hope you're still here. You were here at least when you said hello. I think I was telling my story about that time. Hey Tasha, hope you're doing good. And Kevin, hey Kevin, it's been a long time since I've seen you. Thank you very much for all the times you sent me Hershey's miniatures. For anyone who doesn't know, my favorite candy in the world is Hershey's miniatures. For everyone who does know, I'm now a diabetic, so I can't have them that often. But fortunately, I'm pretty good at keeping track of my blood sugar, so I can have them every now and then. Good to see you still here, Slumber Reads. I'm really happy. Hope you're doing well. It's been a while. And it's been nice. I want to tell you, my dad wasn't really doing it to be cruel. He didn't want me to be afraid, and that was his way. So he was trying to make you show some bravery, some courage, or to get stronger in that way. That's pretty good. My dad did it deliberately to scare me. Um, in fact, let me tell you a story. Now, this story is already in one of my videos, but I'm going to tell you it because you might not remember it. If you do remember it, hey, I'm going to be pretty happy because that means you're a pretty big fan. Oh, I miss you too, Kevin, but it's really great to see you. I mean, it's been so long. And, yeah, just one of the better friends I've had, so I'm really, really happy to see you. Now, oh, Moonfire, I'm so sorry you had the seizures, thank you. Did you get the videos of my cat? Let me go back and check through my mail once I'm done with the stream. When my account got hijacked, of course they hijacked the entire Google account. So by the time I got back on, there was a whole lot of past mail that I haven't gone through yet. I've been a bit gun shy, I think is the right word. It was such a traumatic experience that it's been hard looking at my mail. It's been hard looking at my channel. I'm finally starting to get over it, but I was scared to really do anything. I think it was mostly because of it happening twice. Fortunately, my sister's not a Luddite like me. She was able to figure out why they were able to hack it twice, and she solved that problem. But I probably do have the videos of the cat, and I will definitely check through the mail tonight after the stream to do that. So, but thank you for sending them. Dara's a diabetic too. Type 1 or type 2? I'm type 2. I type 2, but it's a very recent thing, and it's very weird too because I'm pretty much a healthy type of guy, but it runs in the family. We have tons of diabetics on both sides of my family. But to... Oh, I did pronounce your name correctly. Woo, okay, I'm happy. I've always wondered. I always wonder if I'm going to do that right or not. But I'm going to tell you a story that happened when I was 11 years old. And my dad was in the Navy, as I've mentioned. We lived on the Norfolk Navy base at the time. And my dad was the type of guy, he always had a beer when he was driving. He'd always had beer when he was driving. He would always drive drunk. In fact, the only times that I knew him to get into accidents was when he drove sober. It was really weird. But my dad would always be drinking beer when he drives. Of course, please don't do that. Don't be like him. But my dad was the type of guy who got drunk every day. I don't remember why, but this was really late at night, and we were on the Navy base. There were some roads. I think we had been to a beach really late. All I remember is that there were no other cars out there, and it was really, really late at night, and very dark. And there was a hill Because if you'd ever been to that base, you would know that there's hills there right on the ocean. And we were in the car. Nobody else was on the road. It was dark as heck. He drove, and he stopped the car at this certain part by this hill. And at the time, like, I was 11, which means my brother was 13, and my sister would have been 6. And we were all in the back seat of the car. And he starts telling us this story about some genetic cannibals that live up on the hill there. And the I don't really remember a whole lot of the details of the story, but he said that I'm sorry about the volume, but I do have it turned up on here as high as it'll go. So I'm not really sure. I was having problems with that earlier. Uh, I thought it had done better. I switched microphones. I'm using a different microphone, not my headset mic. But I have it turned up as high as it's going to go. So I don't know what I can do at the moment. All I could do is troubleshoot it afterwards. Um, so I'm sorry about that. I'll try to figure that out so it won't be a problem again. But to finish the story there, he had the car on while he was telling us the story. Then what happened was he cut the car off. And then he pretended like he couldn't start it. And he turned the lights out. So here we are, these kids who've heard this story about these genetic cannibals that live on that hill on the Navy base and come down the hill and get people. And it, oh my God, it was one of the scariest things I've ever experienced in my life. We were all, well, my brother wasn't scared, but my brother was not scared of anything. I mean, well, that's not true. My brother was scared of a lot of things, but they were not stories that my dad would tell. So he had me and my sister were like bawling our eyes out because we were scared that these cannibals were going to come and get us. I got a little closer to the mic. I hope that's helping. But yeah, it was one of the scariest experiences. I don't know how long me and my sister were crying before he finally started the car and left. But he was laughing the whole time too, which could probably explain to you why we've always had a very contentious relationship with him. Uh, but he would do things like that. But that was one of the scarier ones. I hope I'm closer to the mic. I hope that's helping. I know Craze and Mateo said they can't hear me that good. I'm not really sure what else I can do at the moment, but I'll see. It seems like it's not consistent. Some people are hearing it pretty good. Some aren't. Uh, oh, I forgot to say hi to Gringo. Gringo 300, who does a ton, who at least did a ton of work redoing the entire Nightmare on Elm Street wiki. At a time period, I was the only person really doing much, and then he came in and just totally revamped it and just completely did like more work on it than I had ever done. So if you go to fandom and look up A Nightmare on Elm Street, you'll be able to see all the really good work that he's done, and it's pretty amazing. Oh, your mom always drove by drinking. She would drink beer with tomato juice, convinced that tomato juice would cover the smell. You know what what my dad always had. My dad always had was Big Red gum. He was always convinced that Big Red would cover up the smell, and the funniest thing is that I know that he didn't get a DUI, even though I know that he had been pulled over before we were even in the car with him. So maybe the big red did help, or maybe the cops didn't care that much. I don't know, but I only ever knew him to get a DUI once, and that was in West Virginia, and that was just coming home from a bar. But he would go on these long trips where we'd be driving for like 10, 11 hours, and he'd get pulled over occasionally, and he's drinking beer the entire way, and he would not get a DUI, so, and not get into an accident. I don't know. It was just very strange. Well, I love you too, Kevin. You sleep well, and yeah, definitely contact me soon. I'd love to hear from you. Good night. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm talking about my dad drinking. I mean, you might think that that's scary for a lot of people, but it was just normal for us. So, clove gum will, okay. My aunt and uncle used it so their kids wouldn't complain. You know, I grew up thinking that people had to smoke cigarettes and drink beer when they grew older. Um, I grew up with this smell of Old Spice beer and cigarettes was how my dad smelled, and right now the smell of any of them kind of buck me. My sister actually loves beer. She doesn't drink very often. My sister almost never drinks, but she likes beer. I've never been able to drink beer. It's just disgusting to me. And it probably is the associations with my dad that do it. I have little tolerance for drunk drivers. Me too. Um, I have always been the type that if I was going out to a club or something and was drinking, I would have a hotel room to sleep in across. There was a hotel right across from the club that I would go to, and that's where I would go. But usually, if I was drinking, and I don't really try too much anymore, but I would do it at home with friends or something like that. Don't smoke, seldom ever drink. Yeah, I probably have a drink here and there more than I probably should. I just said I didn't do it that much, but I don't get drunk, like wasted, like you do when you're in college. And trust me, when I was in college, I got totally, totally, totally wasted quite a bit. I did go to a party school, so maybe that's an excuse. But I lived on campus. I was only there for about 8 months though, because I had an issue with some medication that I was taking. I think I've told the story before. My I was very fortunate when I went to school because I had a grant, a really good grant, and a scholarship because I was staying in the honors dorm. I went to community college for my first 2 years, got my Associates of Arts in psychology, and then transferred to Northern Illinois University. Huskies, go Huskies! I think most of you may know that I was there at the Valentine's Day massacre in Cole Hall. I wasn't in Cole Hall, but I was on campus when that happened, which was scary as heck. Got fortunately, I got to my dorm and locked myself in, but I was there as a junior first, and I was fortunate with the grant that I had and the scholarship that I got my own room, and it all paid for it. So I was in the room by myself most of the time. And yeah, I drank way too much. And NIU is a huge, huge campus. And I told you guys a story. You know this story of, it was in probably the last stream I did too, of the person who was able to get into my room for some reason. I was in the bathroom and somebody had gotten into my dorm room somehow and had put a post-it note saying I can come in whenever I want on my laptop, and yeah, that was pretty damn scary. Uh, but the reason I bring it up is, I had this 5 week period between the end of the fall semester and the beginning of the spring semester where I was almost all alone in the entire building. There was one other person on my floor that I think was there. I only saw them once or twice. There was two or three other people in the dormitory, Douglas Hall, which was a pretty big dormitory. Uh, but there weren't many people there at all. Fortunately, I mean, I didn't have anywhere else to live, so I had to live there during the break, and it was like being in The Shining. I think I've mentioned that. Uh, we had some really bad snowstorms, and well, even prior to this, prior to the break, I had slipped and broke my wrist, so I was in a cast at the time too. And God, I hated that. Having to put a garbage bag on your arm when you go and take a shower, but it became really, really like The Shining. I mean, I wasn't getting a haircut during the time. I was letting my beard grow. I was there by myself. I didn't have anyone really to talk to except online, and my significant other, we would speak on the phone. But before I go on, I got to say hi to my friend Kia Maricat, and hi to Dan too. I hope hey to both. I'll continue talking about the Shining moment here in a second, but I wanted to say hi to you first. Hope you both are doing great. But yeah, it's. I looked in the mirror once. I went to see uh, what I looked like, I guess, and or washed my hands or something, and I did, and I was like, oh my god, I'm Jack Torrance, and the drinking too. I was drinking a lot during that break because I mean, what else was there for me to do? I mean, I guess I could have studied and bucked up on some of my things. Hello there, Cindy. It's nice to see you. And but yeah, it was probably one of the hardest times of my life because it was so lonely, and I got so drunk so often. Uh, I eventually left the school because of that, because I didn't think it was an atmosphere that was really doing good for me. Um, but I did go back, and I went back and I got my bachelor's in psychology, and most of you know that I went to graduate school and did stuff since then. I don't talk too much about that, but because I'm supposed to be doing more scary stuff than that. But yeah, that was a really scary, weird time for me, and I had left and I stayed with my sister for a little while before I went back, and that's sort of a theme, me and my sister. we, we keep ending up. We'll live with one another for a while, then live apart, and live back together. But for over 11 years now, we've been here at this house now 11 years, and I've been doing this for 10 years. It'll be 10 years in August. So we'll have to do something special for that when it comes around. Something special. And oh, let me see. What else can I tell you guys? For a while there, I was going back and forth to a lot of different places. I would find a place to stay, find a room to rent. I'd be there for maybe 6 months, go somewhere else, and I eventually came to this house in Crystal Lake, Illinois. Now, for anyone who's a horror fan, Crystal Lake, we all know that, but Crystal Lake is a very common name, but Crystal Lake, Illinois, I lived there for probably about 6 or 7 months. That was not much of a scary experience, except that I had three roommates, and one of them, this guy, this guy, whose nickname was Gooch. Now, when I lived there, I didn't know what Gooch was a nickname for besides him. It wasn't until I mentioned him to Christina, my sister, that she's like, "So why is he named after a taint?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that's what that word meant." Okay. But he was nice. We talked all the time. There was a girl there who moved out on us in the middle of the night, so that was really strange. But there was also this one guy, Tom, who I only saw once. He would always go into his room. He wouldn't really say anything to anybody, but he was one of my roommates. He would just go into his room. I never saw him, never heard from him, never anything. It was really, really weird. And, uh, but other than that, there was nothing really scary about me living there. I do remember playing Final Fantasy IX through one week, but other than that, that was a pretty good place to live. After that, because apparently I had been giving my rent to one of the other roommates, but like a stupid idiot, I wasn't putting in the pay to name. So my roommate was actually cashing my rent check. So one day the landlord comes by and he's like, "Oh, so Jake, do you have $3,000?" I'm like, no. What's going on?" So yeah, rent hadn't been paid in like 3 months, and I was like, "Well, I had been giving Gooch my checks. I guess he's been cashing them. Fun, fun." So that wasn't very pleasant, but I went from there to staying in a tent for a while. That wasn't so bad because it was very cold. And once it got cold, I finally asked my mom if I could stay in her room until I was able to rent a room. And then took me a while, but I found a room in Chicago. And it was. I've had some experiences there. I think these are stories I've told too, but one of them was just odd because I was staying in the top of a 3-story apartment with this girl named Emily. Emily's best friend was a gay fellow who lived in the first floor. And he was a nice guy. I always remember getting along with him pretty well. But one day when I'm sleeping, I hear all this screaming. And I get get up real quick and I run out into the hallway and see Emily is standing outside the bathroom, and I hear someone's in the bathroom crying. And I look in the bathroom and it's her friend from the first floor, and he's completely covered in blood. Now, Emily decided to decorate. Now, this is one of the reasons I despise this woman to this day. Her best friend is profusely bleeding in her bathroom. Her bathroom that's decorated all in white. And apparently his boyfriend had beaten the crap out of him. Now, his boyfriend was not supposed, or ex-boyfriend, it was not even supposed to be anywhere near him. The police arrested him after it happened, but she was having a very hard time calming him down. And when she left the room, she said to me, "Please make sure he doesn't get blood on my rugs." I was like, "Wow, bitch. Maybe have some sympathy for your friend." So I tried to be helpful to him, and I didn't have an easy time calming him down, especially because, and I don't know how all of this works, but for some reason, the guy was only held by the police for a very short period of time, like an hour, and was released. And he came back, and he was outside because he couldn't get into the building, and he kept calling for the guy that was bleeding in the bathroom. He kept calling his name out, and the way he was doing it was so creepy. And I don't know if Emily called the police again. It's been a while, so I don't remember. But it was. I was like, "Do you want me to go out and take care of him for you?" Oh, don't want to do that. He's fucking violent. But it's like, okay, I think I can handle it. I'm second degree black belt Shotokan karate. I went all state wrestling when I was in high school. Um, I think I can handle a little punk bitch who beats up on his boyfriend. But she no. So she went out to find him or talk to him or whatever. But yeah, it was scary that this happened in the first place. It was scarier that the situation was working in such a way that it could happen again. That he could show up after being arrested for beating him up, show up again within an hour, and be out there calling for him. Like, this guy must not have been afraid at all to get arrested again. So, but yeah, that was not a pleasant experience. Oh, Pokemon Trainer Emerald, big celebration coming up for 10 years. Yeah, it'll be in August, so I have a few months to think of what we can do. If anybody has any ideas during that time period, please let me know. But yeah, Emily was horrible. I just actually left on one day. One day she just pushed me too far where um it was hot, and she called me on the phone, and she asked me if I could bring two air conditioners up from the basement up 3 flights of stairs. Well, these were really heavy air conditioners. So I brought the air conditioners up, knowing how she is about cleanliness, I was trying to think of, what should I do here? What should I do? What's the best thing to do? So I took the air conditioners and I set them down on a specific spot on the floor. She comes home bitching, screaming about where I put them. I'm like, what did you want me to do? Put them on the carpet? And she was just trying to find a reason to be angry. Um, she had a lot of issues. Her top drawer of her dresser in her bedroom was filled with oxycodone. Um, and she would always tell people that came over. She was a therapist too. That still is actually. Sometimes I get curious about people that I used to know, and I look them up, and I looked her up, and yep, she's still a therapist. Um, and she would tell people when they came over, "Oh, do you want some oxycodone? It's just like being on heroin." Okay, that's a great thing to say to somebody, to your guests when they come right over. Here, take this. It's like being on heroin. I was living with her for about 6 months too. It's like sometimes I just maybe I just get tired of people after 6 months. It's what you went through. Why I don't like having roommates. Which is why I'm okay with living with my sister. Because we don't have problems. We never argue about anything. I've had other people live here. My brother, Jerry lived with us for a couple of years. Jerry absolutely loved to argue. I mean, he would yell and scream several times a week. Thank God he's not here anymore. But I've told you guys about him before, I'm sure. He was the one who was on Social Security disability. And when he lost his Social Security, he grabbed a knife and ran outside the door, ran down the street yelling, "Who wants to die? Come on outside. Who wants to die? Who wants to die?" So, of course, he got arrested. and he was quite shocked that he got arrested. Another time was after he moved out. He broke down our front door and broke into my room and physically attacked me. Fortunately, he was a wuss, and uh, it was not very difficult to fight him off. But I just hate that. I hate being violent. But Jerry didn't mind it. He was definitely somebody that I'm better off not knowing. He has been gone for. I haven't heard anything from him for about 2 years now. So 2.5 years, and I really don't care. He kept in contact with me when he first moved out and seemed like he was trying to be a better person. But yeah, I have probably 4 or 5 stories littered among my videos that are things that happened with him while he was living here. And me and my sister, we just don't have those problems. We don't argue about anything. And if one of us needs help with something, we help each other out. Not sure if you remember me, but I have a killer orange cat named Millie. I remember a killer orange cat named Millie. Yes, I do. Uh, is it pronounced? Is it baklava, like the dessert, or I don't know. I'm probably messing up your name, but yes, Millie. I remember a killer orange cat named Millie. I might not remember people, but I remember my cats. Speaking of that, Ichigo, our loyal mascot, is uh, getting a little arthritic, I think. So the way that he walks lately, he's 13 now, which is a good thing. He was found in the middle of the road, so if my sister hadn't found him, he'd probably be dead. So he's gotten 13 good years so far. Hopefully, he'll have a lot more. But I'll take some videos of him to put in new videos. And I do want to mention that too. Moonfire sent me some cat videos. If you have cat videos that you would like to see in one of my videos as a background, feel free to email them to me. I'd be happy to put them in there. People get to see your cats, and I've been reusing a lot of older videos over and over. So I would like some new ones. So if you have any and you want your cats to appear as a background in a video, just send me something. The address is in the description of most of my videos. foxbarking44@gmail.com. Now, I'm trying to think of some other things that I could tell you that are pretty freaky. I haven't had, other than the experiences with Jerry, I really haven't had a lot of scary things here. Although the very first night that my sister and I were in this house, a tornado went right by us. And I mean right down the street. It was touched down very close to us. Our house, while not hit by the tornado, was shaking. And we were all freaked out. But yeah, it happened on the very first night that we were here. And that was pretty scary. But I mean, it's one of the several close calls I've had with the tornado. I remember once I was on a motorcycle with a friend. We were driving through Georgia, and oh my God, the storm! I don't think I've ever seen clouds that dark. I saw the funnels up in the sky. We were going to take an exit, but we wanted to go one further just to get as far as we can, even though the rain was like pelting down and just like totally killing us. We went to the next exit, got a hotel room, and found out later that the hotel in the first exit had gotten destroyed by a tornado. So the hotel we would have gone to if we didn't decide to go a little bit further got hit by a tornado. And yeah, that was pretty terrifying. But other than that, I'm not really scared of tornadoes. I'm quite fascinated by them. I am super fascinated with storms, but we don't get them that bad here in Paris, Tennessee. Um, for some reason, and I don't know why, they always cut right south to us. And there's times where they cut where a storm will split and go. Part of it will go north, part of it will go south, and Paris won't get it at all. And it's like I love storms. Come on, give me a good storm. All the storms we've had here, except for a few in the past 12 years, have been kind of wussy. So I'm always looking for a good storm. Oh, Gig W. I think we know you mean that's Big W. Well, hello, Big W. Hope you're doing good. It's been a while since I've seen you. Now, I figured out. Thankfully, it seems I figured out the stream, so I'm happy about that. So next thing I have to do is figure out the how I could get guests to come here because I would like to have other people talk about things. I don't plan my streams out in advance. I just get on here and I just talk as it comes, you know. So when I first started this stream, I had no idea I was going to tell you that story about my grandma's house. But you know, having other people join the stream with me, they'll come up with their own scary stories. They'll maybe talk about things that are true scary things that have happened, or maybe scary stories about certain serial killers, stuff like that. And it gives good someone for me to bounce off of. So I know I've had couple people willing to do that. I will probably do another stream sometime this week, like I said, and hopefully by then I'll figure out how to have guests join me. And I just think that could be a whole lot of fun. I am finishing up the editing of a few stories for a video I plan on releasing tomorrow. I think the stories in it are really good and everyone's going to really like it. They're rural stories. One of them takes place like way out in the mountains. And I sometimes think the further out in the country these stories are, the scarier they can be. My grandma had this guy that I guess her common law husband. They lived together for 30 some years before he passed away. But when I first knew him, I mean, this guy, he was way out in the country in like a little shack he built by himself. And I was always scared to go there because, I mean, this was way out in the woods, and you could hear everything that was going on around you outside, and sleeping there, sleeping there was terrifying. But that was a long time ago. I even doubt if that place even exists anymore. He ended up moving in with my grandma from his place, and they lived there for 30 some years. And then he passed away a few years ago. Probably only grandfather figure I ever really had. My maternal grandpa died when I was in my 20s, but I never really knew him either. So I'm glad you think so. My scary stories are always superb. Yeah, I think you'll really like these ones. I have one very unique one. It'll be the second story in the anthology that comes out tomorrow, and I think it'll be a bit surprising, maybe like something you haven't heard before. So that's gonna be tomorrow evening, barring any acts of God that keep me from doing it. Hopefully that won't happen. But I'm gonna try to start doing the live streams on Saturday and making them a regular thing. probably like around 8 o'clock Central Time. Except this week, I'll try to do one earlier because, like I said, I'll be busy on this Saturday. But usually, I'm not doing anything on Saturday, so I figured this would be a good thing to do. Uh, Hopefully, I'll be more interesting and more prepared than I am right now. Uh, I'm trying to think of some other scary things that may have happened to me that uh, I can tell again. I'm sure I've done this before. Oh, here's one. Um, oh my God, I always remember this. Uh, I the house where you got sick with a heat stroke. Yes, you are correct. Um, but I used to live in a town called Grays Lake, Illinois, and I went to high school there. And a lot of my friends, we would stay late after school, talking. And this was in the fall, so it got dark pretty quickly. Or, honestly, I think this might have been play rehearsal. Yeah, I think that's what it was. It was a play rehearsal, and there were the two last people were me and my friend Tonya, and she didn't have a way to get home. She had to walk, and she lived across town. Had to walk through the park, and maybe I was feeling chivalric or something, and but anyhow, I decided to walk her home, and she was kind of scared to walk through the park anyways because it was kind of dark, and walked her all the way to the house and stuff, and said goodbye, and turned around to walk home. Now, I'm not too proud to admit that walking through that park in the middle of the night was scary as hell. Um, and I mean, it was just so dark, and it oh, even remembering it kind of gives me the creeps. And I was just like pretending that no, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. But I want to get through this park as quickly as possible. I want to get through this park as quickly as possible. Once I got to the end of the park on the trail, it was an asphalt trail that went through the park. Um, I saw something from the corner of my eye. Someone was behind me, coming at me really, really, really fast. I felt my heart like leap out of my chest. I was like, ah, and it was a guy riding a bicycle because I saw him out of the corner of my eye, and he was coming at me so fast because he was on a bicycle. But I couldn't see that. Of course, I thought some guy, some killer or something, was running behind me, trying to get me really fast. Oh my God. I don't think I'd ever been that startled before. Oh, okay, Gringo. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate you being here, and hope you have a great night. Hope you have a really, really, really good night. Um, Now that's not where the story ends, though, because of course nothing happened that night. But I go home the next day. I go and I am in school, and Tonya comes up to me, and she's like, "I'm glad you're all right." I'm like, "Well, why?" "Well, you didn't know this, but apparently earlier in the night, before you went home, a guy was in a car wash. He snuck into a car wash. A woman was in there washing her car, of course. Well, she was in the car while the machine was washing it. But a guy had snuck in there, and uh, he raped her, and thought he stabbed her to death and put her in the trunk of the car and ran off. She wasn't dead. She was able to bust out the back seat and get someone to call the police. But this was on the news. This guy was loose still when I was walking her home and then walking home by myself. So, I probably wouldn't have been in any danger. I mean, don't think a guy who with that modus operandi would come for me, but it still was pretty scary. I like the ghost Nick Morrison with his three little ghosts there. But yeah, so that was like a double scare. The jump scare of seeing the bicycle out of the corner of my eye, thinking someone was running at me, and then finding out that there was a attempted murderer on the loose that night while I was walking home. So these things seem to just, come around me, I guess. I don't know uh, how I get some of these scary experiences, but I guess we all have some of them. So I'm going to. I didn't do an April Fool's joke video this year, and I've never done one before. So I thought I was going to do one this year because if I hadn't done one before, nobody would see it coming. However, I did get some stories that are sort of horror joke stories that I will either put in a stream or another video, but I won't do it as a joke on you guys. I'll let you know. So, me too, huh? Yeah, I know, Chimera Cat. You have given me so many scary stories. I'm like, scary things seem to attract you too, and Big W there too. They seem to just come around us sometimes. So, but hey, that's what happens. So, I'm sure. I don't know why, but at least we have stories to tell, and we live to tell about them. So, uh, it's getting kind of late. I'm gonna. I only started when I started today because of Sunday night is game night. I always play World of Warcraft with my mom and my sister, so I had to start kind of late. But I want to at least tell you guys one more story before I go. So it's a little short today, but normally I probably go an hour and a half in the future. Uh, right now, I'm thinking Wednesday or Thursday, but what I will do is I will post a thumbnail beforehand. So, like a day beforehand. So, if you keep an eye out for that, you'll know exactly when the next stream is coming. And I'll have some stories available for you, and if I can get a couple of guests, they might have some of their own scary stories to share. But I'm trying to think of another story that, well, I mean, here's one that I've told before too, but it always kind of gets to me. I was over at someone's house. His name was Toby, and while I was there, he was one of those people who really loves Ouija boards, like obsessed with Ouija boards. I'd never had one. In fact, my mom forbade them to be in the house. I don't know. I don't believe in them, so it's I actually have one. I can see it right here. Um, but he did have some really interesting stories. He told me the story about this ghost called Fa because they gave their initials Fa, who he claimed followed him all around wherever he moved, and he would talk to them on the Ouija board every day, and he would never even get out of bed in the morning before he consulted his Ouija board. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know really what I believe or what I don't believe. But he believed it, and he saw it, and he was convinced. And he had said that there were time periods where he would see ghosts whenever he closed his eyes. So he would close his eyes, and he said that the only way he could not see ghosts was by closing his eyes and forcing himself to look down while he's closing his eyes. Now, I don't know about you guys. Maybe you guys can try doing that. I close my eyes and I don't know if I'm looking up or down because my eyes are closed. But he said he would close his eyes and look down. And the reason he started doing that was because even though he was used to seeing ghosts when he was closing his eyes, the one time he saw this ghost that was like half male, half female, and I don't. Oh, it's a female with a beard. That's what it was. It was a female with a beard, and coming towards him really slowly. I guess maybe kind of like the girl from The Ring or something, and came up to it was like looking him like straight in the face, and he said that that's when he started doing the thing where he would close his eyes and look down because he didn't want to see the ghosts anymore, but he would see them all the time. And I guess things had gotten so bad for him that he gave up doing anything with the Ouija board. And when I met him, it was probably about, I don't know, 6 months. He had been 6 months sober from the Ouija board. And he said that at that point in time, he wasn't seeing anything anymore. He was finally not having any experiences at all. Now I was there and we were having some. He had served some wine, and we were talking about drunk driving earlier, and I wasn't drunk. I'd had 2 glasses of wine, and I'll just pause for a second to say hi, Sue. It's really nice to see you, and thank you for being a fan. I appreciate it very much. Hope things are going good there in Florida. But yeah, I wasn't even tipsy. Trust me, I could drink an entire bottle of wine and be fine. I just have that much of a tolerance. But I still wasn't going to drive because he offered me to go ahead and sleep over. So, okay, I'll sleep over. Um, so, uh, we were sleeping in the same room. And, huh. I was lying there and I started smelling this cotton candy sort of smell. It's the only thing I can describe it as. It smelled like cotton candy. And there was nothing that I knew there that could be making a cotton candy smell. Hi, Cassandra. Nice to see you. Sue, my email address is in most of my videos description. It's not in this one. I'll write it in here actually, real quick before I finish telling the story. Just send me an email there, and I'll get back to you about that. Um, and then all of a sudden, I heard someone laughing, and we'd been talking about so much ghosts and stuff all night that I could have chalked this up to my mind just playing tricks on me. But as I was lying there, all of a sudden Toby, who I thought was sleeping, woke up. What's so funny? I'm like, what? What do you mean? What's so funny? Oh, I just heard you laughing. Okay. I said, oh, nothing. Don't worry about it. Go back to sleep. Now, this building was not in a way, wasn't an apartment attached to another apartment where you'd hear somebody in the next apartment laughing. It was a house. So, there was something laughing in that room that both of us heard. And by him asking me what was so funny, confirmed that what I heard was not my imagination. It was not a partial seizure. It was something that was there. And that fascinated me so much. But the thing is, it also ended our friendship because Toby thought that after that night that he started seeing the ghosts again, and he thought that our friendship had something to do with that. He thought that maybe there was some sort of spiritual connection or sensitivity towards ghosts that we both had, and that made them come back. So he didn't want that to happen. So he didn't talk to me anymore. Now here's the unfortunate thing: is I had a book, Haunted Chicago by Richard Crowe, which cost me a pretty decent penny there, and I loaned it to him, and of course I never got it back. But so there was like $30 down the drain for a book that because uh, because that ghost decided to appear and start laughing at us that I would never get back again. So anyhow, I thought I wanted to go ahead and end with a scary story like that. Sorry I can't go a little bit longer. I It's getting bedtime for me as well. I've been up since about 5 o'clock in the morning, so it's getting kind of late. But I'm glad this went well. I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing those stories, even though I have told them, I think all of them before. I hope you liked them. Oh yeah, the ghost in the shower. I'll I'll I'll, I'll tell you that part first. Hey Rooster, it's been a while. It's good to see you. Hey everyone, say hi to Rooster. Yeah, I'll tell the shower part first before I go. After after uh the first night with Toby, I went out and bought a Ouija board, and it's not the same one I have now, but I bought a Ouija board and I tried using it. Of course, it didn't do anything. I mean, it just sat there. But after that, all these weird things started happening in my apartment. In fact, my friend Matt refused to come into my apartment anymore, even though he loved it there before, because he said he always felt it felt wrong, and he just could not be there. So we started hanging out at his house after that. He didn't want to come into my apartment. He would, and if he came to pick me up for something, he would not come up to the apartment. I would have to come down to the car. So, but the scariest thing that happened after that was when I was taking a shower. Now, I at the time, I'm not so much like this now, but at the time, I was always kind of scared to take a shower. Um, uh, so I, because of Psycho, I'll admit it, because of Psycho scared me when I was a kid. So I'd always keep the shower curtain open a little bit so I could see if something was happening. And I was taking a shower and washing my hair, lathering up my hair. I remember that very well. And I looked and I saw the shadow of an arm coming the shadow on the wall of an arm coming up towards the shower curtain. I quickly grabbed the shower curtain and threw it open, and there was nobody there. But that was the scariest thing I'd ever seen, and I was terrified. I got out of the shower. I turned the shower off. I still had shampoo in my hair. So I went to the sink because I was not getting back in that shower. I went to the sink. I washed my hair out in the sink. Luckily, I had to go into my bedroom to get dressed. I lived by myself at the time, so I could do that. And I left the apartment by keeping my back up against the wall until I went all the way out of the apartment that way. And that's how I didn't go back to the apartment for 2 days. I called my friend Dan, and he let me stay over at his place for a couple nights until I could calm down, and went back to the apartment. Now, around that time, the apartments were actually going condo. That's the reason I didn't buy the apartment, was because at the time, at least, I was convinced that it was haunted at the time, and I it's a decision I regret to this day. I wish that I had bought it, um, because I had an opportunity to get it at a very very low price, and I screwed that up. So, and hell, I'd be 20 years into the mortgage. That's how long ago it was. So, but anyhow, yeah, it was kind of scary. Some things happened, but then I left there. I found another apartment, and it was a really nice place. I lived there for 2 years before I went off to college, so that was pretty nice. Um, Nothing bad ever happened there. But I didn't say hi to D Realist yet. So hello. It's also about to be good night too because I'm about to go ahead and end. But I just wanted to say that I have Dara, I have a friend who won't go into the bathroom if the shower curtain is closed. I used to be like that. I used to be like that, and in fact, even to this day, my our house, we have a two bathroom house, so my sister and I both have our own bathroom. The shower curtain in my bathroom is always open unless I'm taking a shower. Now, I'm not really. I don't get scared anymore. I sometimes I kind of wish that I could because it's a feeling that I just miss. If you know what I mean. You don't really like being scared when you're scared, but when you haven't been scared in a long time, you almost kind of wish you could feel that again. And I haven't in a while, but hopefully somebody will send me a story that'll send chills up my spine. But I will tell you, there is this forest right down the street that I'm way too scared to walk through at night. So that might be something. Maybe we should think about that. Maybe I'll walk through that one night. Maybe I'll take my phone down there and we'll do a little live stream of me walking through this forest at night. That might be pretty fun. Um, because I guarantee you I will be scared then. But anyhow, I want to thank everybody for showing up. Keep an eye out for a video tomorrow. And like I said, the there will be another live stream this week, and I will post the thumbnail for it at least 24 hours before the live stream happens. And hopefully, I can get the guest thing figured out so I can have a couple guests there. So, I hope you all have a good night. Sleep well. And try not to get too scared. And I'll talk to you all later. Good night, everybody.